G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach with D-Art. Welcome to the round 21 review. Hope you all had a rip of a round yourself this week. And I'll tell you what, I was off to a magnificent start. Had the VC on Clary 150 plus, Christian the cement bag, Petrarca, nice 130 plus as well. And even Crispy, who I did decide to keep on to this week, scored a ton for the first time in about 9 weeks. So everything was off to a very, very rosy start. But I thought to myself, you know what, this is too good. There's obviously got to be some carnage, and carnage there was, particularly when it came to my pods. 3 blokes in particular really did hurt me this week. We'll talk about them in a little while. The season rank now, 25.91. So where on earth are we going to go from here? I cannot scrape a green arrow to save myself lately. I reckon it's been about 5 weeks in a row that I've gone down under 100 spots each week. So I was just outside the top 2,000. I think it was about 2,050. And ever since then, slowly but surely, just out we go. It's been a really tough one for me. And I'm not really used to this because at this stage of the season, this is where I tend to make a few gains, possibly on other sides. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different situation for me this year. A little bit tough to navigate, but I do have one more trade up the sleeve. And I think that that's pretty lucky. And look, at time of recording, no news has come through, but I suppose in my opinion, I think that Paddy Cripps has gone for 2 weeks, just on my own judgments. That's not biased Brisbane Lions support or anything like that. It's just what I see, looking at the guidelines, etc. So I think what am I doing now? I can't even speak at the moment. I'm just going to roll with it though. I think that it will be 2 weeks, as I said, based off the guidelines. So if you've got a trade in the bank, you've just got to use it if this is the end result. I'm not too sure if it is, but let's just assume that it is at the time being anyway. Then you've obviously got to get him out because, remember, there are finals possibly to come up for Carlton. That's looking a little bit dicey as well at the moment, particularly if Cripper is out. But they don't count for Supercoach. We've got 2 more weeks. If he's gone for 2, he's gone for the rest of the Supercoach season. So yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate for lots of teams, particularly who have run out of trades. So I definitely will use that trade this week if I have to. And we'll talk about, there's probably a couple of blokes I'm looking at the moment. Not quite decided. Hopefully you can help me decide who to bring in when I get to it anyway. So we'll leave it at that for now, guys. Hope that you're all well. Thanks again to all the members. Really appreciate your support, guys. Let's see how the team's actually looking. So as we can see, I've got 17,200 to play with, just the one solitary trade left. I'm not complaining too much. As I said, there are plenty of teams with none in the bank now. And yeah, this man down here, Paddy Cripps, probably has to go this week. But to the back line, Jack Sinclair, 116. This bloke has just been phenomenal, has continued to do so. Only slight concern is that potential tag in our Supercoach Grand Final coming up against the Swans, and in particular Ryan Clark, who really did shut him down last time. I think prevented him to his lowest score or lowest stat line for the year. So that is a bit of a slight concern, but for now, we just roll with him. He's been a fantastic pick. On to one of these pods that I was talking about before that let me down. Now, talk about let me down. This was meant to gain me a really big advantage on the comp. But 48 points from Tom Stewart? Are we joking? Are we joking? I just didn't see this tag coming. This hurt big time. This really hurt big time because I saw someone like a Bailey Dale who'd underperformed, gone to 60 odd, was it? Can't remember. I think it was close to that, 60 to a 70. And I thought, yeah, having someone like a Stewart, say, on top of a Dale here, this could gain me an extra, 40 to 50 points. Let's just say he goes to 120. And I thought, yeah, what a slow start. Come on, Tommy, you'll be right. You'll get back. Nah, it just didn't happen. So for him to get a sub 50, the second week of owning him, is just so disappointing. It's not funny. So yeah, that just really almost ruined my week, that score, to be quite honest. But there were a couple of other blokes that didn't have fantastic games, but yeah, Stewie in particular was just a huge letdown. Now, I did welcome Jordan Dawson into the side this week, which was fantastic for me. It was a decision between Crisp and Short. In the end, I did go Short out and end up keeping on to Crisp. Now, why was that? Because I was definitely getting Crisp out at the start of the week. I thought, look, Crispy is playing the first game with Short. If there is any early carnage, then I might even be able to reverse that trade if I don't have to do it. Because obviously that was a luxury trade going either one up to Dawson. And it just made more sense, you know. Crispy was playing the early game. I thought I'll just whack the emergency on him. if he doesn't play well, then I can just loop McCartan in there for Dirksen, even get him on field. But at the end of the day, that worked out really well with 105, so super stoked with that. But yeah, Dawson did come in for short, and I was wrapped with that. Made an extra 30-odd points, was it? 30 to 40 points. I don't even know what Shorty scored. I think it was in the 70s. So wrapped with that. He's coming up against North this week, so I'm expecting another really nice score from him. That was a fantastic upgrade. But Tommy Stewart, I don't even know what to say. I just want to move on. And Tommy, you owe me big time this week, mate, and all the other people that brought you in the last couple, and particularly the very few people that actually held on to you during your suspension, mate. So, yeah, huge letdown there. 604, yeah, that was okay. Doherty really bounced back, so he had a fantastic game. Really effective. I think he's on 40-plus points at quarter time. He was basically going point for point with Sardi for the whole game. So, yeah, spewing. Remember, I could have gone Sard in the week before I got Stewart in for Hewitt. That would have gained me so many more points as well. So that's super frustrating. I did have to use 2 trades to get up to Stewart. So, yeah, I'm going to stop talking about Stewart now. You can tell I'm really dirty on the bugger this week. Dirksen was at loop. Really, yeah, nice for me this week. But he's been a frustrating one because GWS have had a few early games lately, and I haven't really been able to use him to my advantage for looping actual players' scores. D'Ambrosio didn't play but was a sub. Miller got a really, really hard tag this week, and the fact that he almost reached triple figures, I think, was a pretty nice effort from him, so I'll take that 98. Merritt, this would have been fantastic for non-owners. Finally, he throws in a dog of a game. We were wrapped at the start. Ash was out. We were still a little bit worried about Perryman, but Ash came back in, obviously. Wasn't too good this week, but I will forgive Zach Merritt because he has been absolutely phenomenal for us lately. This was bound to come at some stage. So get out of the way now, mate, and hopefully has a strong next couple of weeks. Got a decent fixture as well, I think, which is nice for Zeret. This man just delivered in a massive way, and it was the early game, the Friday night, just the easiest VC that you'll ever have in your life, and obviously didn't disappoint. So 150 plus from Clary. Yeah, this man is back after a subpar last couple of weeks, but again, coming back from that broken thumb, fractured thumb, whatever it was, that's tough. You know, you need a couple of weeks just to warm into it, I think. Lockaniel had a really big game as well, particularly in the first 3 quarters. He was massive, kicked an early goal, which was nice. Almost a 140 from him, back in form. Look, this week, coming up against St Kilda, I don't love the matchup. I think Owens or Windhager will go to him. One of the two anyway. Will put some defensive pressure on him, so I probably wouldn't have him in my loop, which is a little bit frustrating. Track again as well. He spoke big a couple of weeks ago, and he's delivered big for the second week in a row. Another lovely 130 plus score. I know a couple had the vice captain on him, a little bit dirty on themselves that they didn't take Oliver, but at the same time, a 136 is really good at the end of the day. So, yeah, really wrapped their own track. And he's had a really nice average post-buy as well. Had a couple lower scores, but remember, had that really big 180 plus score, as well as a couple of 130s and 140 in there as well. So that's been pretty good from him. Bray Shaw, yeah, subpar score, the 93. He's a bit of a pod when it comes to, you know, the big midfielders that people select. So that one did hurt a little bit, but not disaster type stuff. Paddy Cripps, yeah, big story this week with Cripper. Poor old Kalachi, got concussed. Look, in my view, I think it was an act that really did spark Carlton into doing something. You know, someone needed to do something. It was leader. Now, I'm not saying that, it was a heroic act or anything like that, but it was a captain's act where I think he needed to show a real physical presence because we were just smashing Carlton in all facets of the game. And this did lead to, a mini revival. I think it was about 3 goals in a row. After that, we came back, and then the last quarter, I don't even want to talk about that. But, I don't sort of blame him for doing it. I think someone needed to do something, but, yeah, it obviously didn't turn out too well for him. And as I mentioned, I think he gets a couple of weeks here. Jack Mcrae, 102, just an average type score. You're probably just hoping for a 105, and if it's anything more than that with Mcrae from now, all good. In saying that, though, I may even use him in my loop this week because I think that GWS will go to Bont. They'll put a lot of pressure on him. I'm thinking of it. He's probably about my 4th choice. But, probably another one of his teammates I'm keen on. I think in my loop. Owens, 51. Cully didn't play. Had the peanut on him last week for Steve. And Rioli, nice 65. Hopefully keeps his spot for the next couple. All right, so into the rucks and the forwards. It's not really pretty here. I might even just make that a little bit bigger. So, Witsy, 133, we've been waiting for this. Got back to that mid to early season form. Yeah, fantastic. Very highly owned the top 5K, but we all rejoice. How long's it been? It's been a little while, hasn't it, since we've seen, I think, a half-decent score. So the rucks have been very hot and cold lately. He was very hot this week. And on the opposite cold, Shrek has just been a huge disappointment. I was expecting big things from him. I thought at least I'll get one big ceiling game, if not 2 or 3 if I'm lucky. But just hasn't looked near it. Has not looked near it, the big fella. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's one of those picks that has just really hurt me lately. Really hurt me. He's capable of so much more. Was 2021 just a year out of the box for him? I'm not too sure. He's just not looking like it at the moment, which is disappointing. And Teakley came back into the side. Actually outscored him by 14 points. So there is absolutely no way that I'm going to put Teak on for Darcy. But yeah, it's just disappointing there. Bond 100, yeah, okay. Again, I think came in a little bit sore and did look a little bit sore at times during the game. Cogs 106, again, just the score you expect from him. Parker 103, the stat line indicated that maybe this was a little bit better than that. But again, it's 100 plus, we'll take that. All very even scores there from 1 to 3. Dunkley, now this is probably the bloke that I will have as my VC this week. As I said, I think a lot of attention will be paid to Bontempelli. Mcrae is pretty hard to trust at the moment, so I think Dunkley's probably the one with that big ceiling that won't cop a lot of attention, will get a lot of that contested ball. Obviously, these two teams absolutely hate each other. They've got a lot on the line. The Dogs finals is still in calculations for them, so yeah, I expect him to have a pretty fair game based off the last couple, and I can't believe I'm saying that because if you take the last couple away and look at his 3 to 5 round average before that, I think it's particularly his 3 round average, was not pretty reading. So this bloke has come back in a big way, which is really nice. English, I need to do the maths, and I'll be doing a really big season review this year because I've learnt a lot, particularly for someone that's been playing the game for a long time. You know, new rules in place. It's been a different type of year. But yeah, to do the maths on this, trading out Heaney using 2 trades, I don't know, was it 100 to 150k, I think, at the time, getting this bloke in. Oh man, that's been an absolute disaster for me. An absolute disaster. I thought that would be a huge upgrade, get rid of a dodgy pick, upgrade to the F1 for the rest of the season. That can also cover in the ruck. Could he possibly be R1 as well? But just has not looked like it. Really disappointing, as some of these players have. You hear me use that a lot. And Brody with a 65. I suppose the only positive to this is the fact that he's in so many teams. Most of us own him. So we all cop this 65, but again, not terrific. And McCartan with a 63, average from him. And Roses with a 32. Lucky I don't have to rely on him. So let's get to the trade this week. So Paddy Cripps, got to go. Now, what have I got? So I've got 17,200 in the bank. So let's go out, mate. One bloke that I really like is Chad Warner. I've been on him for about the last 6 weeks now. It's a bit of a pod through the stockies if you follow the stocky. I'm just going to filter this. Oh, no, I'm going to sort by highest price. So I've got 570. So obviously the big dogs are out. Rory Laird. It is a big reason why I'm sitting at my current rank. A huge reason and part of the lessons I've learnt this year. I'll go into that in tomorrow's review. I'm not going to bang on about him now. Took we've got, Marcus we've got, Zeret we've got, Oliver we've got, which is nice, Locker we've got. Steele's been a little bit disappointing in the last couple of weeks, but would love to have him on my side. If I could go to Steele, I most certainly would. Sinclair we've got, Petraka we've obviously got. Cunnington, what a story back in the VFL. Congratulations, mate. That is just fantastic, you know. Yeah, just a massive, massive comeback from Cunnington. So, yeah, well done, mate. That's super stuff. Walshy 574, so I can't go there. Mills, so that's disappointing. So then you go down to your Anderson types, but one of the blokes that I do like is Darcy Parish. So his 560, can afford him. Now it's certainly a bit of a risk with his durability. He's sort of been a little bit in and out this year. If you look back to his scores, when he's on the park, he can score really well. Love this man's ceiling. If he goes big, he goes really big. And he's got a couple of nice games coming up fixture-wise, I think. So we've got Port and Richmond. So earlier this year, and he has played both teams, and I think they were both in a row as well. 142 against Port, and then the 128 against the Tigers. Now, we're not saying that history is definitely going to repeat itself, But that's, yeah, some nice history just to base what you're going to predict that he's going to score off. If you look back here, look at this stretch from round 4. So 121, 113, 133, 111, 139, 109, 128, 142, and then bang, obviously had that had the 51, which was ultra disappointing for owners. Some people bought him in that week over a Walsh or a Zeret or a Jelly type, and he obviously lost out big. So he comes back round 16, scores a 112, but again, misses 4 weeks, misses a month, comes back against the Giants with a 120. So I'm not worried at all about his scoring capabilities. We see the two teams here, Richmond and Port, that he's coming up against. I think a really nice fixture, particularly for midfields. I really like that. It's just that durability factor. So if he can stay on the park for the next couple of weeks, I think he'll be a great pod. I think he's owned in about 4.4% of sides as we speak. So yeah, I'm assuming that might rise a little bit with Cripps potentially being out this week. So he's one bloke that I really like there. Huey, I'd love to bring him in. Just not quite sold on him though. Dawson I brought in the other week. Crouch, just no. LDU could actually be worth a shout. I just don't like his floor. Bray Shaw, I think he's worth a shout actually at 543. Got that DPP status, which may come in handy in some way. You never know in the Supercoach Grand Final. He's got that midfield role now, 113. So let's look at him a little bit closer. You know, don't let it put you off if you are using last trade on getting in defender, for example. So if you're really keen on someone like a Dawson, if you haven't got him, then feel free to use some DPP magic if you're able to do it. I think that's okay. It can put people off bringing in, just say if it's your last trade in your midfield, one of those DPP players. But, you know, don't let it worry you if you can't manage to do it. So he's coming up against Carlton, who, geez, have a pretty depleted midfield, don't they? And then the Lions. So 122, 123, 113. He seems like a really safe type pick, doesn't he, Bray Shaw? So he's the safe type pick. I don't want to be safe necessarily at this stage, but I do like him as a selection. The bloke, I think, which is the only other bloke that I'm really keen on here, is this man, Chad Warner. Rosie's been in ripping form, but last week worries me a little bit. So, what have I done there? Sorry. So Chadley Warner. This man has had a phenomenal season to date. Last week, it was okay without being phenomenal, 104. If you look back to round 16 against Essendon, so the 155, the 108, 148. So these two scores here get me really excited about the pick. Then followed that with a 110, which again, you can really stomach. 69, remember, he really did cop that hard tag. I was at Perryman, I think, from memory. Or Ash, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's a little bit worrying, just given the fact that he does come up against, I think it's St Kilda. Sorry, what am I doing here? I should just zoom out. St Kilda in the last couple of weeks. So, it's a bit of a tough one. If he didn't come up against that potential tag in the Supercoach Grand Final, I'd really, really like to have him in my side. But that does worry me. Guthrie is a bit of a pod. Look at the names. When you get down here, it's a bit of a hope, isn't it? You know, your Boakes, you go on 116. There's no way I can get Heaney back in. Berry's interesting. Butters at 121, who I've had before. Viney, Bolton. Nah, they're a bit of a hope and a prayer, aren't they? Baz. Nah, Swallow 130. Nah, so I'm going to bring in Mr. Darcy Parish. I think he's a bloke who, I think for me, has that ceiling. Durability's not great, but we're only asking for 2 weeks. So, it's a little bit risky, I know, but as a pod, there we go, 4.4% ownership. I think he's probably the bloke that I'm going to look to bring in. So, complete trade. There we go. I think I'm just going to bring Darcy Parish in. I would love Chad Warner, but I'm worried about that potential tag because he didn't deal with the tag overly well in the last game. Still a young fella. You wouldn't think you'd have to deal with it, but he's just been in ripping form. I can see why the opposition would look to lock down on him. So that's probably how we'll go in this week. Captaincy, when's Clary playing? So he's playing against Carlton. It's going to be, a bit of a cakewalk, that one for him, isn't it? So VC, can I go into a Zeret or a Parish against Port? Yeah, I don't mind that at all. Neil I don't like. Miller, he's playing at Metragon against the Cats. Can you put anyone on him? So 435, I could use Cully as a loop there. That's the other thing I've got to look at. Who are your loops? D'Ambrosio is probably going to be a sub. Teakle, I think, yeah, has a high chance to play. Roses, yeah, so it's going to be tough, isn't it? I'll probably have to have Clary as my captain, unfortunately. Don't know if I'll be able to do the loop there. So I reckon it might actually be for me Dunkley as the VC. Marvel against the Giants. I reckon Bont might get the attention. Can't see them really tagging Dunkley into Clary captain. I think it'll be take Owens off. Well, that's a little bit risky, isn't it? Because he's Dirksen, no. Alright, so what am I going to do here? It's a little bit dicey, isn't it? When's Rioli playing all the way down there? Just worried about it laid out. It's always a little bit dicey, but just for now, I think what I'll do is I'll just chuck Cully on. Let's just say Mcrae off. Take the emergency off there. So that's probably how I'll line up, I reckon. And if I don't need, obviously, to use a loophole, then, yeah, it is what it is. It's a little bit of a risk. I've always got Rioli, who I can sub on the second last game, and all my mids, apart from these two blokes, will be done by then. So that's how I'm rolling this week, guys. Look, as I said, pretty disappointed with how I've been going lately, but a couple of weeks to go. Hopefully, a couple of my pods can just have massive weeks. All the best of luck with your side this week, and I'll see you in the Stocky, which I'll hopefully upload in the next couple of days. So all the best, guys. See you in the next one. Cheers, bye.